The following program is an original production of WICC PBS Chicago.
This week we honored millions of veterans for their service. Why are so many of them struggling and homeless? And what's being done to help those who risk their lives to serve our country?
In one Chicago suburb, growing outrage over a developer suing ordinary citizens for speaking out against a condo project. The battle over freedom of speech in Park Ridge.
And an innovative program uses old furniture as a method and a metaphor, helping women repair their lives. Those stories and more tonight on In the Loop.
Good evening. I'm Chris Beard.
And I'm Barbara Pinto. In this week where we honor those who have served, we take a closer look at the problem of homeless veterans.
On any given night, an estimated 1,200 veterans in Illinois do not have a permanent place to call home.
Tonight, local and state efforts underway to solve the problem and the battles so many veterans face when they come home from war.
It's a unique feeling when you have failed your family and they don't have a place to stay.
26-year-old Dallas Wade remembers the date, September 14th, 2013. He and his family, 3 young children and his fiancée, were on a park bench with no place to go. They were desperate.
I was in a park by the old Wadsworth elementary school or middle school on 65th and University.
Sitting on that park bench trying to figure out what to do, Dallas used his cell phone to go online and find help.
I think that's the nature of a lot of soldiers when they come home, is that you don't want to be labeled as needing help.
Dallas called Volunteers of America Illinois, located in Chicago's South Loop. Part of their mission is to find stable housing for homeless veterans. A counselor asked Dallas if he and his family could come to the office.
I had some change on me, I think, and, we got on the train and we got to them.
That was a year ago. Today, Wade and his family live in a spacious 3-bedroom condo in Englewood, part of a new complex called Hope Manor 2, developed by Volunteers of America.
Everything we do for veterans is about restoring hope.
Nancy Hughes Moyer is the president and CEO of Volunteers of America, Illinois.
I'm so grateful that the fruits of our labor are going to support and serve someone like Dallas Wade, who is so deserving of the support and the help.
Each of these 73 units are fully furnished with amenities that include washers and dryers.
Oh, say, can you see?
At grand opening ceremonies for Hope Manor 2, Senator Dick Durbin said the government has an obligation to help veterans when they come home.
Didn't we promise them that if you'll hold up your hand and take an oath that you're prepared to die for this country, that we will stand by you when you come home?
We are eliminating homelessness for all veterans in the city of Chicago. It's over. Every veteran will have a shelter over their head.
Mayor Rahm Emanuel is championing a bold nationwide push to end veteran homelessness by the end of 2015. The Obama administration has launched a $270 million program. Chicago gets $5 million of that federal money, and the city's kicking in another $800,000 of its own. Hope Manor 2 in Englewood, Hope Manor 1, and a soon-to-open Hope Manor 3 in Joliet are examples of a stepped-up effort to solve the problem.
If you accept it, these people can help you get in a position to help yourself.
But it's a big challenge. The city estimates there are more than 700 homeless veterans in Chicago alone. About 465 of them live in shelters. Another 256 live on the streets. But homeless advocates say many others go uncounted because they live with family members or couch surf, bouncing from one friend's house to the next.
So for a whole month and a half, I just went from here to there. As long as you have, buy a couple of things for somebody, you can crash out at their house.
58-year-old Nestor Amerson, a Vietnam-era veteran, served in the U.S. Army. Years after being discharged from service, his life spiraled downward after a severe back injury and a devastating divorce.
I got depressed. I started using drugs. And, it was just bad. I got, and I had no place to go. I lost my apartment.
After completing a VA-sponsored detox program, Nestor found help through another veterans group, the Midwest Shelter for Homeless Veterans in Wheaton.
And they saw something in me that probably I didn't even see in myself. I am a good person. I just had a misfortune of losing everything and not paying attention.
Today, he has his own apartment, subsidized by the Midwest Shelter for Homeless Veterans, and he volunteers at the shelter to help others in need.
This is part of my family, and I'm part of them. I am part of Midwest Shelter.
Joining us today is Bob Doc Adams, president and co-founder of the Midwest Shelter for Homeless Veterans in Wheaton. Thanks for joining us, Doc.
Good to be here, Barbara. Thank you.
Let's talk about homeless veterans. Why are there so many of them living on the street, and who are these homeless veterans?
Well, I think some of the issues are, you may know that over 90% of our casualties now in these two wars have survived due to the great medical technology. And so amongst those veterans, 30% of them have psychological injuries, and 66% of that 30% are post-traumatic stress victims. And post-traumatic stress comes from having experiences that are outside the range of normal human experience. And that would include witnessing death, having to kill someone, the moral injuries that come with that, and also the fact that there is, these days, a healthy amount of multiple deployments of these veterans to those wars. And that, I believe, is probably the main factor for why there are so many veterans suffering the way they are now. And who they are is maybe not who people think they are. They're not just strictly folks who have alcohol and drug issues, although there's a significant number. Oftentimes, people just fall through the cracks. They lose a job, or they lose a job and lose their family. And all those things and a synergistic effect can create someone who ends up homeless, who never would have imagined that they would be homeless once they came home from their tours of duty, for instance.
You speak from personal experience. You, at one point in your life, were a homeless veteran. How did you find yourself homeless, and how did you work your way back?
Well, mine was a little more traditional. I had a number of issues with alcohol and drugs, and so I ended up couch surfing for a while. I also ended up living in my car for a bit, and then my mother took me in and allowed me to stay with her, and that's where things began to change. And in 1985, my life turned because I stopped using alcohol and drugs. In fact, it's been 29 years, and so for me, that was the first blessing that took place in my life, one of many, many afterwards.
And now you're a social worker. You're devoted to helping veterans get back on their feet. Talk about the programs available. Is the government doing enough?
Well, we think the government is doing wonderfully, particularly in these last 6 years. Programs like supportive services for veteran families, a program that has allowed us, for instance, a small agency, a little grassroots agency, to serve 103 veterans within a one-year period, helping them to prevent becoming homeless, rapidly rehouse them when they have become homeless, provide services, therapy and case management for them. Sometimes we're able to pay some of their utilities, basically help them with their financial management and get them really back to a stable place. And that program is just absolutely a wonderful thing that the Veterans Administration has done. And there are also more vouchers to subsidize housing for people. We also believe, unfortunately, that as long as rents and housing costs exceed salaries, wages, that it's probably likely that we will continue to see homeless people and homeless veterans in our population.
There was a talk about the program about ending homelessness among veterans by the end of 2015. Is that a realistic goal given how complicated a problem this is?
It's a wonderful goal. I'm not sure how realistic it is simply because, at this point, because of the changing characteristics of the target population. We see our veterans coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan with a unique set of issues. There are also more women becoming homeless, a top priority for the Veterans Administration, because of their tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we think it's a very worthy goal, and we're doing everything we can, and the Veterans Administration is doing everything it can to accomplish that goal. I'm not sure how that'll end up going, but that's what we look forward to, the day when there are no homeless veterans in America.
From your mouth to God's ears, Doc, we thank you. We'll have to leave it there.
Thank you.
Now here's Chris with a look at other stories trending this week.